Hello, my dear students of class 6. Welcome back again to your second session. I'm your literature teacher, Pratik sir. So, let's begin with chapter number 6, M. Krishnan, Nature's Spokesman. So, Nature's Spokesman, you can clearly visualize the thing that how to conserve the nature. We, the humans, are deploying the nature day by day. So, how to conserve it. Okay. So Ramachandra Guha have told us what M. Krishnan has said. So in an essay published in 1974, Madhava Krishnan wrote, "If we are wise, we can save India and her magnificent heritage of nature for the generations of Indians to come." So if we are wise, we will save the nature, because if we plant the trees, the fruits will be served to our next generations. So we know that we can give them a country to be truly proud of. So will we? So do humans really care for nature? So my wife and I were recently discussing people we admired. So the narrator is telling that I and my wife is discussing about the people we liked. Whom? First, Manjula Padmavan is high on her list was the artist and writer Manjula Padmavan, and high on mine, in fact on top of it, was M. Krishnan. So on wife's part, Manjula Padmavan, and on narrator's part, it was M. Krishnan, who was born in 1912 and died in 1996. Likewise, an artist and writer of varied gifts and originality of expressions. He had a variety of gifts in his writing. He has got expression in his writing. So Krishnan was, among other things, an accomplished writer in Tamil. He grew up in Malayapur in Chennai, the youngest son of the celebrated novelist and social reformer A. Madhava. Krishnan's own last work was a detective novel in his mother tongue. So he has written in Tamil, the last work. Posthumous collection of his Tamil essays, edited by the scholar and naturalist Theodore Bhaskaran, has been published under the title Mazaikalam Quilosayam. He was also a very talented wildlife photographer. The camera he used was called by himself and his acolytes, that is Super Ponderosa. Acolytes is assistant or helpers, and Ponderosa, it refers to something which is very heavy, which is very bulky. It was put together from pieces garnered from here and there, a lens from Eastern. Actually, the whole camera was assembled. Some part means the lens was from East Germany, a cap and shutter from Malaysia, nuts and bolts from Burma Bazaar, the lot held together by some neighborhood string, but it and he took strikingly good pictures. So he, though it was assembled, but still this man could take pictures very elegantly. Some are represented in a 1985 collection called Nights and Days. Others, better still, in a book put together in 2006 by Ashish and Shanti Chandola and T.N.A. Perumal, carrying the little eye in the jungle. So these photos have been edited and then means given in these books. Then again, Krishnan was a marvelous prose stylist in his adopted language, English. Growing up, I spent many enjoyable hours in his company, reading his fortnightly country notebook column in The Statesman. Much later, I had the privilege of making a selection from essays he had published over 50 years. This book was published in 2000. So the narrator is telling all about everything of Krishnan. So what he has done, what are the things that he admires. So he's telling everything to us. It is called Nature's Spokesman, M. Krishnan and Indian Wildlife. So this book, from where the story has been taken, so it's called Nature's Spokesman by M. Krishnan and Indian Wildlife. Lastly, Krishnan was a pioneering environmentalist and conservationist. So environmentalist means who loves the environment, studies the environment, and conservationist is who conserve the environment, like to conserve the environment. He knew and practiced environmental education before that term had been coined. So, before we knew that the subject environmental education was there, he used to study before that. Nature Study, printed in the Hindu on 18th May 1947. The school approach to nature study, wrote this former school teacher, is fundamentally unsound. It is based on the theory that one must proceed from elementary understandable things. Though I know it is little bit of tough to understand, but the thing is that here the practicality of nature cannot be learned through books. That is what the narrator is trying to say us. Means, to know nature we have to go to nature, and we cannot sit behind four walls or in the four walls and study nature through books. We have to go out, view the nature and conserve the nature. There is simplification and selection and logical reason steps guide the approach. But the fact is that nature is not simple, logical, and reasoned. Thank God it is not. There's no need to fully understand anything in all its structure and complexity to be alive to its charm. What makes living things fascinating is their behavior, not their anatomy. Means, what living things are fascinating as, means, we should not kill animals, anatome them, and look what the creatures are when they were born and all these things. So children in primary schools should get to know the common wild plants and birds of the locality, birds because they are so easily watched. They should learn a little later, perhaps, the stories of the domestic animals. They should be taken out to see nature for themselves and be given pleasant books with gay, colorful illustrations. Children love them and will readily interest themselves in any text if it is free from morals and illustrated in color. So, it's a very simple thing. You need to understand that to make a children learn about nature, you should give them the book of nature and tell them to go out to the nature, to view the nature, so that what they sees in the book they can see in their they can see that in their practical life, in their nature when they go out. And they should not indulge themselves into some moral value educations and learn morals, okay, and do not implement them in life. We learn morals but we do not implement them in our life, so we need to implement them. Then only we are reading books. We are reading books not to memorize it and committing it to the answer paper. No, we need what we need to learn. Krishnan was India's best all-round naturalist. Salim Ali knew more, much more, than him about Indian birds. Jim Corbett better understood the behavior of large mammals in wild. Some botanists were more closely acquainted with Indian plants. So, herpetologists, who are called herpetologists are scientists who study reptiles and amphibians with Indian reptiles, but no one knew as much as Krishnan about so many different aspects of natural world in India. So Krishnan was a versatile, not perfectly tend towards any one simple species, no, but he wanted to know many things about birds, about animals, about reptiles, about amphibians. So he's a versatile man who knew many more than everybody else. Krishna lived and died in Chennai, known in his time as Madras, but spent much of the year in the field accompanied only by his camera. So Krishnan used to love his camera. A notebook, a sketch pad, and a change of clothes. So mark this. So what were the things he needed the most? His companion was a notebook, camera, sketch pen, sketch pad, and a change of clothes. He was familiar with the snows of the Himalaya, the desert of Rajasthan, the mangroves of Sundarbans, and the grasslands of the Deccan. So he have gone to many places. That is why he is well known with Rajasthan, Sundarban, Deccan, Himalaya. He wrote quite beautifully about these varied terrains and about the insects, plants, birds, and animals that inhabited them. The best introduction to Krishnan is through his writings. So if we learn his writings, we will be easily getting to know about Krishnan. So let me now quote from some of the thousands of nature essays that he published in his long and very full life. I shall begin with an essay published in 1961 when the government of India was deciding upon the choice of the national bird. So when the government was deciding who will be the national bird, which bird will be the national bird, so that time he is going to quote us something. He is going to quote from there. So Krishnan submitted his view that here Krishnan said the leading candidate was the peacock, for everyone knows it, everybody knows it and has seen it, and it is to be found all over India. And it is intimately and anciently associated with our religious and countryside legends and culture. So he said it should be peacock. Why? Because everybody has seen it and everybody is associated with peacock. Further, it is so distinctive its arresting beauty and it tends itself to unmistakable formalized description. In fact, it has been so depicted in our folk and classical art. So everywhere. So this bird peacock has been stated everywhere. He went on to say, I shall be greatly surprised, why I shall be astonished if any other bird is ultimately preferred for this honor. Still, to make the debate more interesting, he decided to praise the claims of the common myna. These were his reasons, those sacred to no god. It is well known to our legends and folk songs, and it is one of the most familiar birds in the country, being specially common in and around human settlements. So you have seen this bird, myna, both in the plains and in the lower hills. So as everybody in India is accommodated with this bird, and this bird actually live in the human settlements. So to carry on the debate whether it will be peacock, whether it will be myna, so he included myna in it, and he was specializing the things why it should be myna. In spite of being so common, few birds have a richer plumage, as the naturalist Iha pointed out long ago. The contrast of the cadmium yellow of its legs and beak and facial patches with the Van Dyke brown of its plumage and the black of its head and the blaze of white on each wing that lends it fight such vividness are contrasts that could be most effectively formalized in an emblem. So this whole picture is given here, and it says that if we give them, it's an emblem. Okay, it's an emblem. It is frequently caged and trained to talk in our folk songs. It is often entrusted with the delivery of messages to loved ones far away, a kind of ambassadorial responsibility that is surely an asset in any national bird. This passage carried the hallmarks of Krishnan's writing, an attention to the everyday aspects of nature, not merely to its most spectacular forms or manifestations, an understanding of shape and size and color and form, natural in a trained artist, a knowledge of our folk and literary traditions, and a sense of humor. So the debate is still on. The debate was on, and finally it was decided that it will be peacock and not myna. And why not peacock? Why not myna and why peacock? That is not said here. So it is said that the whole nature thing, though this chapter is quite difficult to understand, I'm telling you, don't go to complexity, don't go line to the line of complexities. Just understand it, that we should save the nature by any means. Okay, so what nature is, how should one learn about nature, that is the main focus of this story. It is written by Ramachandra Guha. He was an eminent historian, well known of his books on Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. He was written books on varied subjects. So you just learn. It is written by Ramachandra Guha, and he was born in 1915, and he still lives. Currently, he lives in Bangalore. He's the most respected academics of India. So you'll get, once you get the question answers, once you get the inside questions of it, you will be understanding the chapter easily. So don't worry about it, just listen to the video nicely, and please do when I give you the question answers, please do copy everything in your copy. Okay, thank you.